I'm Jessica Warner, 29, and I never thought my own sister would abandon me on my wedding day for a Paris trip. The worst part? She was supposed to be my maid of honor. What Olivia didn't realize when she boarded that plane was that my fiancé Nathan wasn't just any man. He was the silent heir to a billion-dollar tech empire. And her betrayal would trigger a chain of events that would change our entire family forever. Before I dive into the full story, I'd love to hear where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoy family drama with a touch of sweet revenge, hit that subscribe button and like this video. Trust me, you'll want to see how my sister's impulsive decision to skip my wedding for Paris completely backfired when she discovered who she'd just disrespected. Let's get into it. Growing up as Olivia's younger sister was never easy. 3 years my senior, she was the epitome of perfection in our parents' eyes, valedictorian, head cheerleader, and prom queen. While I struggled with dyslexia and social anxiety, Olivia effortlessly collected achievements and praise. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" became the soundtrack of my childhood, a question that cut deeper each time my parents asked it. Our dynamic was further complicated by Olivia's behavior behind closed doors. To the outside world, she was the supportive big sister, but privately, she'd borrow my clothes without permission, take credit for my ideas, and subtly undermine my accomplishments. When I got accepted to NYU, despite my learning challenges, Olivia told everyone it was because of diversity quotas, not my hard work. When I started my small graphic design business, she called it my little hobby to our relatives. I learned to live with it, to carve my own path despite her shadow. After college, I moved to Manhattan, determined to build my life away from comparisons. My graphic design business slowly gained traction, and I found satisfaction in my growing client list. I dated occasionally, but nothing serious, until Nathan walked into my life. We met at a charity gala where I was volunteering my design services. Nathan was different from anyone I'd ever met, humble despite his resources, genuinely interested in my work, and completely unaware of how his smile made my heart flutter. He never mentioned his family's wealth, driving a modest car and living in a comfortable but unassuming apartment. I fell in love with the man who brought me coffee on deadline nights and encouraged me to expand my business, not knowing he could have bought the entire building I worked in. 6 months into our relationship, Nathan proposed during a simple picnic in Central Park. When I called home with the news, my parents were thrilled, though my mother's first question was whether Olivia would be my maid of honor. Of course, I said automatically, unable to imagine anyone else in that role despite our complicated relationship. Olivia congratulated me with her signature mix of enthusiasm and subtle condescension. "Finally, someone wants to marry my little sister. I need to meet this guy and make sure he's good enough for you." The implication that Nathan might not measure up bothered me, but I brushed it aside. This was my moment, and I was determined to enjoy it. As wedding planning began, Olivia insisted on being involved in every decision, often contradicting my choices and suggesting better alternatives. She criticized my venue selection as too small, my color scheme as too boring, and my dress as not flattering enough. Each criticism chipped away at my excitement, but I reminded myself that this was just Olivia being Olivia. Nathan noticed my distress after particularly difficult planning sessions with my sister. "You know, Jess," he said gently one evening, "the wedding is about us, not your sister. Your happiness matters most." His support strengthened me, but I couldn't bring myself to exclude Olivia from the planning. She was still my sister, and some childish part of me still craved her approval. The tension reached a breaking point 3 months before the wedding when Olivia insisted on changing the date because it conflicted with a potential job interview. "This could be huge for my career, Jess," she argued. "Surely you can be flexible." When I refused, pointing out that deposits were paid and invitations sent, she sulked for weeks, responding to wedding-related messages with one-word answers. 2 weeks before the wedding, Olivia seemed to have a change of heart. She threw me a surprisingly thoughtful bridal shower, complete with my favorite foods and a heartfelt toast that brought tears to my eyes. Maybe she's finally growing up, I thought, allowing myself to hope that our relationship was healing. Little did I know that this performance was the calm before the storm, and that Olivia's next move would reveal her true colors in a way I could never have anticipated. The day before my wedding should have been filled with last-minute preparations and excited jitters. Instead, it became the day I discovered just how little my sister valued our relationship. I was at the hotel where we'd booked rooms for the bridal party, waiting for Olivia to arrive for our final dress fittings, when my phone chimed with an Instagram notification. My heart stopped as I stared at the screen. There was Olivia, posing beneath the Eiffel Tower, captioned, "Spontaneous Paris Getaway." Sometimes you just have to choose yourself. #sorry not sorry, #Parisian Dreams. The timestamp showed it had been posted just 20 minutes ago. My hands shaking, I called her immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. Then a text appeared. "Hey sis, I know you're probably upset, but I got an amazing last-minute deal on this trip. You have mom and your friends to help with the wedding. You'll be fine. It's not like I'm the bride, LOL." The casual dismissal of what was supposed to be the most important day of my life felt like a physical blow. I sank onto the hotel bed, unable to process what was happening. My maid of honor, my sister, had abandoned me without warning for a vacation. My mother called moments later, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Did you see Olivia's post? I can't believe she would do this. Your father is furious." For once, my parents weren't making excuses for Olivia's behavior, but their outrage did little to fill the hollow feeling in my chest. Nathan arrived at the hotel within the hour, breaking tradition to see me before the wedding day because he knew I needed him. As I sobbed in his arms, explaining what had happened, his expression shifted from concern to a quiet, controlled anger I'd never seen before. "Jessica," he said finally, wiping tears from my cheeks, "I'm so sorry she's hurt you like this. But I promise you, our wedding will still be perfect. You deserve that, and I won't let her take it away from you." What he said next surprised me. "Maybe it's time I showed you something." He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "James, I need the car brought around, and please inform my parents that we'll be visiting this evening." I was confused. In the 6 months we'd been engaged, Nathan had mentioned his parents only in passing, saying they traveled frequently for business. We'd planned to meet them after the wedding, and I hadn't pushed the issue, understanding that some families were complicated. An hour later, we were driving through the iron gates of what could only be described as an estate in the most exclusive part of Westchester County. The mansion before us was elegant and understated in its luxury, much like Nathan himself. A staff member opened my car door, greeting Nathan as Mr. Reynolds. "Reynolds?" I questioned, turning to him with confusion. "I thought your last name was Mitchell." Nathan took my hand, his expression apologetic. "Mitchell is my mother's maiden name. I use it for privacy. My full name is Nathan Reynolds Mitchell, of the Reynolds Technology family." The Reynolds name hit me like a thunderbolt. Everyone knew Reynolds Technology. The company rivaled Apple and Microsoft in size and influence. Their founder, Thomas Reynolds, was listed among the 50 wealthiest people in America. I couldn't even finish the sentence. "Thomas Reynolds is my father," Nathan confirmed quietly. "I wanted to tell you sooner, but I needed to know you loved me for me, not my family's resources. I've seen too many relationships destroyed by money." Inside, I met Nathan's parents, warm, unpretentious people who immediately made me feel welcome despite my obvious shock. Thomas Reynolds, the business titan whose face had graced magazine covers, served me tea himself and told stories of Nathan as a child. "We're sorry we've been absent during your engagement," Elizabeth Reynolds said, squeezing my hand. "We were respecting Nathan's wishes to keep things private until he was certain you weren't going to be overwhelmed by all this." As we talked, I learned that Nathan wasn't just wealthy, he was the heir to a tech empire worth billions. The modest apartment, the regular job at a software company, all had been part of his determination to live a normal life outside his family's shadow, a feeling I understood all too well. "Tomorrow at the wedding," Nathan said as we prepared to leave, "my parents will be there, along with some family friends. I hope that's okay. They've been eager to meet you properly." I nodded, still processing everything. As we drove back to the hotel, a thought occurred to me, one that brought a strange mix of sadness and validation. If Olivia had known who Nathan really was, she never would have missed my wedding. Her priorities had always been status and opportunity. By choosing a vacation over my wedding, she had unknowingly snubbed one of the most influential families in America. The irony wasn't lost on me. For once, Olivia's selfishness had worked against her, not me. And somehow, that knowledge made the sting of her betrayal a little easier to bear as I prepared to become Mrs. Jessica Reynolds Mitchell. Hey everyone, I know you're dying to find out what happened next. This story has so many twists and turns coming up. If you're enjoying it so far, hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you've ever had a family member let you down in a major way. The next part of this story is where things really start to get interesting, so stick around. My wedding day dawned with a strange mix of emotions swirling inside me. The hurt of Olivia's betrayal still stung, but it was overshadowed by the anticipation of marrying Nathan and the lingering shock of discovering his true identity. As my mother helped me into my dress, taking on the duties that should have been Olivia's, I tried to focus on the joy of the day rather than my sister's empty place beside me. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," Mom said, her eyes glistening. "I'm so sorry about Olivia. I don't know where we went wrong with her." It was the first time I'd ever heard my mother criticize Olivia, and the validation was bittersweet. "It's okay, Mom. This day isn't about her." My college roommate and best friend, Rachel, stepped in as emergency maid of honor, handling last-minute details with efficiency and genuine enthusiasm. "Honestly, Jess, your sister doing this might be a blessing in disguise," she whispered as she adjusted my veil. "No drama, no her making it about herself. Just you, Nathan, and the people who really love you." The ceremony was more magical than I could have imagined. The small historic chapel we'd chosen was transformed by cascading flowers and soft lighting. When the doors opened and I saw Nathan waiting at the altar, his face illuminated with love, Olivia's absence momentarily vanished from my thoughts. This was our moment, and it was perfect without her. What I hadn't anticipated was the guest list. Nathan had been honest when he said his family would attend, but he hadn't mentioned that family friends included tech industry legends, 2 Hollywood directors, and a former vice president. Our intimate wedding of 70 people included some of the most influential individuals in the country, all treating me with warmth and genuine interest. "Your work is extraordinary," said a woman I later discovered was the creative director of a major advertising firm, referring to my graphic design portfolio that Nathan had proudly shared. "We should talk after your honeymoon. We're always looking for fresh talent." The reception was held at a historic mansion nearby, transformed into an elegant celebration that somehow maintained the intimate feel we'd wanted. Nathan's father gave a touching toast, welcoming me to the family with such genuine affection that tears sprang to my eyes. "Jessica," he said, raising his glass, "from everything Nathan has told us, you loved him when he was just Nathan, not a Reynolds. That tells us everything we need to know about your character. We couldn't be prouder to call you our daughter." My phone remained silent throughout the day, no messages from Olivia checking in or offering belated congratulations. Her Instagram, however, continued to update with photos of Parisian cafes and designer boutiques. Each notification felt like a small reminder of her priorities, but I silenced my phone and focused on celebrating with the people who had chosen to be present. It wasn't until the end of the reception, as Nathan and I prepared to leave for our honeymoon, that my father pulled me aside, his expression troubled. "Jessie, there's something you should know," he said, lowering his voice. "Your sister called your mother earlier. She mentioned seeing some photos of the wedding online and, well, she's quite upset." "Upset?" I echoed, disbelieving. "She abandoned me for a vacation. What right does she have to be upset?" Dad sighed heavily. "She saw who was at the wedding, recognized some of Nathan's family friends. Now she's frantically trying to book an earlier flight home. She wants to meet Nathan and apologize for missing the ceremony." The realization of what was happening hit me like a wave. Olivia had discovered who Nathan was, who I had married, and was now scrambling to insert herself back into the picture. The familiar pattern of her behavior emerged with painful clarity, She had discarded something she deemed unimportant, only to desperately want it back once she realized its value. Nathan joined us, placing a protective arm around my waist. "Everything okay?" I looked up at my husband, seeing in his eyes the understanding and support that had been missing from my relationship with Olivia for so long. In that moment, I made a decision that would alter the dynamic of our family forever. "Everything's perfect," I replied, smiling genuinely. "Dad was just telling me that Olivia has suddenly decided she wants to come home early. Apparently, she's very interested in meeting you now." Nathan's expression hardened slightly, though his voice remained gentle. "And how do you feel about that?" I thought about all the years of living in Olivia's shadow, of making excuses for her behavior, of desperately seeking approval that was always just out of reach. Then I thought about the vows Nathan and I had just exchanged, promises to support and protect each other. "I think," I said slowly, "that our honeymoon in the Maldives shouldn't be interrupted. Olivia made her choice. Now she can live with it." As we left the reception under a shower of rose petals, my parents watching with mixed emotions, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I was choosing my own happiness over Olivia's demands. And as our car pulled away toward our new life together, I couldn't help but wonder how my sister would react when she discovered that her opportunity to connect with the Reynolds family had slipped through her fingers, all because she couldn't be bothered to attend her own sister's wedding. Paris sparkled beneath a perfect blue sky, but Olivia Warner barely noticed the beauty surrounding her. Instead, her attention was fixed on her phone, scrolling frantically through social media posts about her sister's wedding. What had started as casual curiosity, a quick check to see how things had gone without her, had turned into mounting horror as she recognized faces in the background of photos. "No, no, no," she muttered, zooming in on a group picture. That was definitely Thomas Reynolds, the tech billionaire, standing beside Jessica and her new husband. And the woman next to him had to be his wife, Elizabeth. Olivia's mind raced. Why would the Reynolds family be at Jessica's modest wedding? The answer came in the form of a society page announcement someone had linked. Nathan Reynolds Mitchell, heir to Reynolds' technology fortune, weds graphic designer Jessica Warner in intimate ceremony. Reynolds. Mitchell. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Jessica's unassuming fiancé, the one Olivia had dismissed as just another boring software developer, was actually Nathan Reynolds Mitchell, sole heir to one of the largest technology fortunes in the world. The phone slipped from Olivia's fingers onto her hotel bed. She had skipped her sister's wedding to the Reynolds heir for a last-minute Paris vacation package. The magnitude of her miscalculation was staggering. Frantically, she called the airline, begging to change her return flight. "It's a family emergency," she insisted, willing to pay any change fee necessary. The earliest they could get her home was still 3 days away, 3 days in which Jessica and Nathan would be honeymooning in what another post revealed was an exclusive private island resort in the Maldives. As Olivia paced her hotel room, her mind churned with possibilities. She needed to fix this, to somehow insert herself back into Jessica's life before the damage became permanent. She composed message after message to her sister, alternating between apologies and explanations, but deleted each one. Nothing seemed adequate to address what she had done. Finally, she settled on a simple text. "Jess, I made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. Please call me when you can. I love you." The message remained unread, the dreaded delivered status unchanging hour after hour. Of course, Jessica was on her honeymoon, probably in some overwater bungalow with limited connectivity. Or perhaps a small voice in the back of Olivia's mind suggested Jessica had seen the message and was choosing not to respond. The thought was uncomfortable but impossible to dismiss. For the first time, Olivia found herself truly examining her relationship with her younger sister. Had she really been as supportive and loving as she'd always told herself? Or had she, as the golden child, taken advantage of Jessica's perpetual role as the underachiever? Memories surfaced uncomfortably, Jessica's face falling when Olivia dismissed her NYU acceptance, the hurt in her eyes when Olivia borrowed design concepts for her own presentations, The quiet resignation when their parents inevitably compared them. Each recollection brought with it a growing sense of shame. Desperate for distraction, Olivia opened her laptop and began researching Nathan Reynolds Mitchell. Articles about the tech heir painted a picture of a brilliant, grounded young executive who had insisted on working his way up through the company despite his family connections. He was known for his philanthropy, particularly supporting educational initiatives for children with learning disabilities. Learning disabilities. Like Jessica's dyslexia, the condition Olivia had often used as evidence of her own superiority. The irony was not lost on her. While she had been building her identity around academic achievements, her sister had been developing the character and perseverance that had apparently attracted one of America's most eligible bachelors. The Paris trip that had seemed so exciting just days ago now felt hollow. The Eiffel Tower, the Seine, the cafes and museums, none of it held any appeal. Olivia found herself counting the hours until she could return home and attempt to repair what might be irreparable damage. On her last night in Paris, she received a notification. Jessica had finally viewed her message. Olivia waited anxiously for a response, checking her phone every few minutes. None came. The silence spoke volumes, a response more painful than any angry words could have been. As her plane lifted off from Charles de Gaulle Airport 3 days after the wedding, Olivia gazed down at the city of light fading beneath her. This impulsive trip had cost her far more than money. It had revealed truths about herself she couldn't ignore and jeopardized the one relationship she had always taken for granted, the unconditional love of her sister. Little did Olivia know that her journey home would lead to confrontations and revelations that would shake the foundations of everything she thought she knew about her family, her sister, and herself. You know, watching Olivia realize the magnitude of her mistake reminds me of how life sometimes teaches us the hardest lessons in the most unexpected ways. Have you ever had a moment of clarity that made you question your past actions? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this family drama so far, please hit that like button to let me know. The next part reveals what happened when Olivia finally came face to face with Jessica after the wedding, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Subscribe now so you don't miss any of my story times. Olivia's return to New York was nothing like she had imagined. Instead of the usual bustling airport pickup from her parents, she found herself taking a rideshare to her apartment, her messages to the family group chat having gone conspicuously unanswered. The silence was unusual and unsettling, a palpable shift in the family dynamic she had always taken for granted. Her first real contact came the following day when her mother finally returned her calls. The conversation was strained, her mother's usual warmth noticeably absent. "Your father and I are very disappointed, Olivia," she said, her voice uncharacteristically firm. "What you did to your sister was inexcusable." "I know, Mom. I made a terrible mistake," Olivia replied, fighting back tears. "I want to apologize to Jessica in person." "When are they coming back from their honeymoon?" There was a pause before her mother answered. "They returned yesterday." "But Olivia, Jessica doesn't want to see you right now. She needs time." The words stung more than Olivia had expected. Jessica had always forgiven her transgressions, had always been the peacemaker in their relationship. This newfound boundary was unfamiliar territory. "Mom, I have to make this right," Olivia insisted. "Can you at least tell me where they're living?" The apartment Jessica had before the wedding was too small for a couple. Her mother sighed heavily. "They've moved into Nathan's family home temporarily, while they look for a place of their own." "It's not my place to give you that address, Olivia. You need to respect Jessica's space right now." After ending the call, Olivia sat in stunned silence. Never in their lives had her parents taken Jessica's side so definitively. The reality of how seriously she had damaged her family relationships began to sink in. Despite her mother's warning, Olivia couldn't accept the idea of waiting for Jessica to reach out. After some online searching and a few strategic calls to mutual acquaintances, she managed to piece together the location of the Reynolds estate in Westchester County. The following Saturday, she drove there, rehearsing apologies and explanations the entire way. The estate was more intimidating in person than she had imagined, acres of manicured grounds surrounded by a tasteful but unmistakably secure perimeter. At the gate, an intercom and security camera awaited. Olivia pressed the button, heart pounding. "Hello, I'm Olivia Warner, Jessica's sister. I'd like to see her, please." There was a long pause before a male voice responded. "One moment, Ms. Warner." Several minutes passed before the voice returned. "I'm sorry, Ms. Warner. Mrs. Mitchell isn't available to receive visitors today." The formal use of Jessica's married name, Mrs. Mitchell, felt like a slap. "Please," Olivia said, unable to keep the desperation from her voice. "It's really important. I need to apologize to her. I've been instructed to inform you that if you'd like to communicate with Mrs. Mitchell, you should send an email. Have a good day, Ms. Warner." The dismissal was final, the intercom going silent despite Olivia's continued pleas. Defeated, she returned to her car, tears streaming down her face. As she sat there, trying to compose herself, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows pulled out from the estate. Through her tears, Olivia caught a glimpse of Jessica in the passenger seat, Nathan driving. They passed without slowing, Jessica's gaze fixed straight ahead, as if her sister weren't even there. Impulsively, Olivia started her car and followed them, maintaining what she hoped was a discreet distance. The couple drove to an upscale shopping area and parked. Olivia waited until they entered a high-end home furnishing store before approaching. Jessica was examining fabric samples when Olivia walked up behind her. "Jess? Can we please talk?" Her sister turned, surprise quickly replaced by a cool, controlled expression Olivia had never seen before. "Olivia, I told Mom I wasn't ready to see you." "I know, but I couldn't wait. Jess, I am so sorry about missing the wedding. If I'd known." "If you'd known what?" Jessica interrupted, her voice dangerously quiet. "If you'd known Nathan was rich? Is that what you were going to say?" Olivia faltered. "No, that's not. Because that's the problem, Olivia. That's exactly why I don't want to talk to you right now. You're only sorry because you missed an opportunity, not because you hurt me." Nathan appeared beside Jessica, his arm sliding protectively around her waist. His expression was polite but distant. "Everything okay here?" Jessica leaned into her husband's embrace. Olivia was just leaving. "Please, Jess," Olivia pleaded, aware they were beginning to attract attention from other shoppers. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking for." After a long, tense moment, Jessica nodded. 5 minutes. Outside. They moved to a small courtyard area, Nathan remaining tactfully at a distance, but keeping them in view. As soon as they were alone, Olivia launched into her prepared apology. "Jess, I made the biggest mistake of my life. The Paris trip was impulsive and selfish, and I should never have put it above your wedding. I've been a terrible sister, and I'm only now realizing how much I've taken you for granted all these years." Jessica listened silently, her expression unreadable. When Olivia finished, she asked simply, "Why did you really come looking for me today?" The question caught Olivia off guard. "To apologize. To try to make things right. And it has nothing to do with who Nathan is? With who I'm connected to now." Olivia couldn't maintain her sister's direct gaze. "I would be lying if I said I wasn't shocked when I found out about Nathan's family. But that's not why I'm here." "Isn't it, though?" Jessica challenged. "Because in 30 years, you've never once chased me down to apologize for anything. You've never acknowledged when you hurt me before. What's different now, Olivia?" The question hung between them, uncomfortably accurate. Olivia struggled to find a response that wasn't transparent in its dishonesty. "That's what I thought," Jessica said softly when Olivia remained silent. "For once in my life, I have something you want, access to Nathan's world, to his connections. And you can't stand it." "That's not fair," Olivia protested weakly. "Isn't it? Tell me truthfully, if Nathan had been a regular middle-class guy with a normal job, would you be this desperate to fix things with me?" The question pierced through Olivia's defenses. Would she? The uncomfortable truth was that she probably wouldn't have pursued reconciliation with the same urgency. The realization was shameful, but Jessica deserved honesty. "I don't know," she admitted finally. "But Jess, you're my sister. That has to count for something." Jessica's expression softened slightly. It does. Which is why this hurts so much, Liv. You were supposed to be there on the most important day of my life, not because of who I was marrying, but because you're my sister and I love you. I love you too, Olivia said, tears threatening again. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. I need time, Olivia. This isn't just about the wedding anymore. It's about our entire relationship, about patterns that have existed our whole lives. I'm not shutting the door forever, but I'm not ready to pretend everything is okay. With that, she turned and walked back to Nathan, leaving Olivia standing alone in the courtyard. As she watched them leave the shopping center hand in hand, Olivia was struck by how confident and self-assured her little sister seemed now, a stark contrast to the insecure young woman who had always lived in her shadow. For the first time, Olivia truly saw Jessica, not as her awkward younger sister, but as a strong, independent woman who had found happiness on her own terms. And perhaps most painful of all, she recognized that she, Olivia, had become the one desperately seeking approval and acceptance. The drive back to her apartment was a somber one, filled with uncomfortable self-reflection. As she unlocked her door, her phone pinged with a notification, an email from Jessica. If you're serious about wanting to repair our relationship, meet me at Riverside Cafe next Saturday at 10 a.m. Come alone. We have a lot to talk about. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. A chance Olivia knew she didn't deserve, but was determined not to waste. Because somewhere between Paris and this moment, she had realized a fundamental truth. The relationship with her sister was far more valuable than any social connection or status symbol could ever be. The week leading up to Olivia's meeting with Jessica felt interminable. She rescheduled client meetings, postponed social engagements, and spent hours contemplating what she would say. For perhaps the first time in her life, Olivia found herself prioritizing her sister above everything else, a belated recognition of what should have been obvious all along. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Olivia arrived at Riverside Cafe 30 minutes early, selecting a quiet corner table with a view of the entrance. Her hands fidgeted with her coffee cup as she waited, rehearsing opening lines and apologies that all felt inadequate. Jessica arrived precisely at 10, dressed in a simple but elegant outfit that spoke of newfound confidence. She ordered a tea before taking the seat across from Olivia, her expression guarded but not hostile. "Thank you for meeting me," Olivia began. "I wasn't sure you would." Jessica studied her sister. "I almost didn't. But there are things we need to discuss, things that go beyond what happened with the wedding." There was a seriousness to Jessica's tone that made Olivia sit up straighter. "What do you mean?" Jessica took a deliberate sip of her tea before responding. "After the wedding, Mom and Dad came to stay with us at Nathan's family estate for a few days. They were different, less guarded than usual. And Dad had quite a bit to drink one night." Olivia waited, sensing whatever was coming would change things irrevocably. "He told me something, Olivia. Something I think you deserve to know too." Jessica paused, choosing her words carefully. "Dad isn't your biological father." The statement hung in the air between them, incomprehensible at first, then gradually taking shape as reality. Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. "What are you talking about?" "Mom had an affair before they were married," Jessica continued, her voice gentle despite the explosive revelation. "With her professor in graduate school. You were the result. Dad agreed to raise you as his own, but apparently it's been a source of tension in their marriage all these years." Olivia's mind raced, pieces of her childhood suddenly shifting into new configurations. The subtle distance her father sometimes kept, the arguments behind closed doors she could never quite make sense of, the inexplicable favoritism shown to Jessica. "Why would he tell you this?" she managed finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "He was drunk and upset about what you'd done. He said something like, 'She's always been selfish, just like her father.' When I pressed him, the whole story came out." Jessica reached across the table, taking Olivia's trembling hand. "I don't think he meant to tell me." Mom was horrified when she realized what he'd said. Does he know who my biological father is?" Jessica nodded. "Robert Keller. He was an economics professor at Columbia. Mom gave me his name after Dad's confession. The name meant nothing to Olivia, yet it represented half of her genetic identity. A previously unknown part of herself. Is he still alive? Yes. He lives in Boston now. Retired from teaching about 5 years ago. Olivia withdrew her hand, wrapping her arms around herself as if physically holding herself together. All these years. All the times Dad pushed me to achieve, to be perfect. Was he trying to make me worthy of being called his daughter? Was that what it was about? Jessica's expression softened with sympathy. I don't know, Liv. But it explains so much, doesn't it? Why there was always this pressure on you, and this comparison between us. The revelation cast their entire childhood in a new light. Their father's persistent criticism of Olivia juxtaposed with his unconditional pride in Jessica. The way their mother always intervened during family conflicts, her desperate attempts to maintain peace suddenly taking on new meaning. They set us up to be rivals, Olivia said slowly, realization dawning. Dad favored you because you were his biological daughter. And Mom favored me because she felt guilty. I think so, Jessica agreed quietly. We never had a chance to just be sisters without all that baggage. We were pawns in their unresolved issues. The waitress approached to refill their drinks, the momentary interruption giving Olivia space to process. When they were alone again, she asked, "Why are you telling me this now?" Jessica considered the question. Because I realized after the wedding that I was angry at you for all the wrong reasons. Yes, missing my wedding was hurtful, but the real issue was this lifelong dynamic we've been trapped in, one we didn't create. Olivia's tears came freely now, years of competitive pressure. I thought you might feel that way, Jessica said, sliding over another piece of paper with an address and phone number. These are current as of last week. Olivia stared at her sister in surprise. You did this for me? Even after everything. Jessica's expression softened. Whatever happened between us, you deserve to know your truth, Liv. And maybe understanding that will help both of us move forward. For the first time in their adult lives, Olivia saw her sister without the lens of competition or resentment, just as Jessica, a woman trying to navigate complicated family dynamics, just as she was. I am truly sorry about the wedding, Olivia said quietly. Not because of who Nathan is, but because I should have been there for you. I've been selfish and thoughtless, and I don't have any excuse. I know, Jessica replied simply. And I'm working on forgiving you. But Liv, if we're going to have any kind of relationship moving forward, things have to change. I won't be the little sister you dismiss anymore. Olivia nodded solemnly. I understand. And I want to do better. I want to be the sister you deserve. As they parted ways outside the cafe, Jessica paused. Nathan and I are hosting a small dinner next weekend. Nothing fancy, just a few friends. If you're interested, you're welcome to join us. The invitation wasn't offered with the warmth of complete reconciliation, but it was a beginning, an olive branch Olivia hadn't expected so soon. I'd like that, she said softly. Thank you. Walking to her car, Olivia felt simultaneously unmoored and liberated. The foundations of her identity had been shaken, yet there was freedom in understanding why she had always felt such pressure to excel, to prove herself worthy. The path forward was uncertain, but one thing was clear: her relationship with Jessica could be rebuilt on more honest ground, free from the manipulations of their parents' unresolved past. 6 months after the revelation that changed everything, Olivia stood nervously on the doorstep of a brownstone in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood. The journey to this moment had been complicated: countless therapy sessions, difficult conversations with her parents, and a gradual, cautious rebuilding of trust with Jessica. After several exchanged emails and one long phone call, Robert Keller had agreed to meet his biological daughter. Olivia had debated coming alone but ultimately asked Jessica to accompany her. To her surprise and gratitude, her sister had agreed without hesitation. You ready for this? Jessica asked, squeezing Olivia's hand reassuringly. Olivia took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. The man who opened the door had Olivia's eyes and her high cheekbones. Seeing him in person sent a jolt of recognition through her, the physical confirmation of a truth she was still processing. Olivia, he said, his voice warm but tentative. And you must be Jessica. Please come in. Robert Keller's home reflected his academic background. Walls lined with bookshelves, comfortable but slightly worn furniture, framed maps and historical documents serving as decoration. He led them to a sunny sitting room where tea had already been prepared. The conversation began awkwardly, but gradually eased as Robert explained his side of the story. He had known about Olivia since before she was born, but had respected her mother's decision to raise her with the man she had chosen to marry. I watched you from afar, he admitted. Attended your high school graduation, sitting in the back. Followed your career achievements through mutual acquaintances. Why didn't you ever reach out? Olivia asked, the question that had been burning inside her since learning of his existence. Robert's expression grew solemn. Your mother made it clear that was the condition of my knowing about you at all, that I would never interfere. By the time you were an adult, I feared disrupting your life would be selfish on my part. As they talked, Olivia began to see pieces of herself reflected in this stranger who shared her DNA, his analytical thinking, his drive for recognition in his field, even certain mannerisms that felt eerily familiar. I have 2 sons from my marriage, Robert shared, showing them photographs of half-brothers Olivia had never known existed. They don't know about you yet, but they'd like to meet you if you're open to that someday. The afternoon passed quickly, each revelation building a bridge between Olivia's past and a possible future. As they prepared to leave, Robert handed Olivia a worn leather journal. These are letters I wrote to you over the years, he explained. Things I wanted to tell you but couldn't. They're yours now, to read or not, as you choose. The gesture brought unexpected tears to Olivia's eyes. Thank you. For meeting me. For being honest. Outside, as they walked back to their hotel, Jessica linked her arm through her sister's. You okay? Olivia nodded slowly. I think I am. It's strange, all these years I defined myself by being mom and dad's perfect daughter, and now I find out half of me comes from someone else entirely. Does it change how you see yourself? Jessica asked. It changes everything and nothing, Olivia replied thoughtfully. I'm still me, but now I understand better why I am the way I am. Why I've always been so driven to prove myself. She paused. And why I was so terrible to you sometimes. I was fighting a battle I didn't even know existed. That evening, over dinner at a small restaurant near their hotel, the sisters talked more openly than they ever had before. Without the weight of their parents' secret distorting their relationship, they found common ground and shared laughter that felt new and healing. I have something to tell you, Jessica said as their dessert arrived. Nathan and I are expecting a baby. You're going to be an aunt. The news sent a wave of emotion through Olivia, joy for her sister, but also a pang of something like envy, not for Jessica's marriage or wealth, but for the sense of certainty and belonging she seemed to have found. That's wonderful, Jess. Truly. You're going to be an amazing mother. Jessica smiled, then reached across the table to take Olivia's hand. I want our child to know their Aunt Olivia. The real you, not the person you thought you had to be all those years. I'd like that too, Olivia said softly. Very much. In the months that followed, Olivia made changes that surprised everyone who knew her. She scaled back her demanding corporate job to pursue a long-dormant interest in educational consulting. She began regular visits to Boston, building relationships with Robert and her half-brothers. Most significantly, she started being honest with herself and others about her insecurities and fears. On a crisp autumn day a year after the wedding that had triggered everything, Olivia stood in a hospital room, cradling her newborn niece. Jessica watched from her bed, exhaustion and happiness mingling on her face. We're naming her Olivia Elizabeth, Jessica said quietly. After her aunt. The gesture brought tears to Olivia's eyes. Are you sure? After everything. Families are complicated, Jessica replied with a tired smile. But we get to decide what patterns we continue and which ones we break. I want my daughter to know that people can change, that relationships can heal. Nathan entered, carrying coffee for everyone, including Olivia. The easy camaraderie that had developed between them over the past year was yet another unexpected gift, a brother-in-law who had every reason to hold a grudge, but had chosen forgiveness instead. She has your eyes, he said to Olivia, glancing at the baby. Those famous Warner eyes. Olivia laughed softly. Color eyes, apparently. Another family secret solved. As she gazed down at her namesake, Olivia reflected on the journey of the past year, from self-centered ambition to a more authentic understanding of what mattered. She had lost the false security of being the golden child, but gained something far more valuable: genuine connections based on truth rather than performance. The baby wrapped a tiny hand around Olivia's finger, holding on with surprising strength. In that grip, Olivia felt a promise that this new generation would grow up without the burden of secrets and unspoken resentments that had shaped her own childhood. That patterns could be broken and new beginnings were possible at any age. "I think she likes you," Jessica said, watching them. "I hope so," Olivia replied, "because I plan to be the best and in the world. Starting right now." The statement wasn't a competitive boast as it might have been a year ago, just a simple promise to be present, to be authentic, to be better. As the sisters shared a look of understanding over the newborn's head, Olivia knew that the greatest revenge against the past was to create a different future. And that was exactly what they were doing, one honest moment at a time. Wow, what a journey this has been, hasn't it? From wedding day betrayal to family secrets and finally to healing and new beginnings. If you've experienced family drama or discovered secrets that changed your perspective, I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. This kind of family reconciliation isn't always possible, but I'm grateful that my sister and I found our way back to each other. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life dramas with unexpected twists. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that family relationships can heal, even after betrayal. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way through. Until next time, remember that sometimes life's biggest disappointments can lead to unexpected blessings.